Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Ivan Matejak. I am from European Energy Research Alliance, where I am covering the position of the set plan and a strategic programming director. I already delivered stories lectures 2 years ago when we met on Cyprus, and this year I was asked to deliver something similar, but of course keeping in mind all the new dynamics that had happened in 2024 when it comes to the European clean energy transition process. So it's going to be the topic of my presentation, the European Union competitiveness and strategic autonomy, and the role that R&I has in this segment. I will start just briefly saying whom I present. So European Energy Research Alliance, for example, the coordinator of this project is a part of our association, but also many others. It may be that many of you that follow this course, it's part of European Energy Research Alliance. What I like to say is that ERA is the largest energy research community in Europe. We have indirectly more than 50,000 researchers working in the clean energy technologies, and here you have on this slide mission and a vision of association itself. Mission, as the first, is to catalyze European energy research to achieve a climate-neutral society by 2050, and a vision to become the European Union's privileged research authority. We have changed and revised a bit mission. First, some years ago, our mission was to achieve a carbon-neutral society, but as the time has passed and we have realized that the carbon will still be there, so we have also included that the climate-neutral society is our goal by achieving that, with, for example, with carbon capture and storage. Now, quickly, we gathered the most outstanding research and innovation players in the continent. We have 250 organizations across Europe, and not only. Since June 2024, we also have Canada as associate member across different 30 countries. And we are organized in 18 pan-European joint research programs and transition expert group. What does it mean? We cover all the aspects of transition, big technology-wise, materials, or systemic research areas. And as such, we represent the set plan. As you might recall, my function is director of the set plan, and the set plan is strategic energy technology plan of the European Union that defines what is needed for the European Union in terms of technology, what is needed to achieve the goals of 2030 and 2050. Now, I was saying that we are divided in 18 joint programs, which then more specifically look like this. We have a systemic research areas, so not specifically technologies, but broader systemic joint programs that look transversally to the transition as such. And we have, for example, energy transition for sustainable society joint program, but also we have joint program of smart grids, smart cities, or if you wish, also an energy digitalization. Now, the great bulk of the joint programs are dealing specifically with different technologies. This is why you can read on the list we have wind, we have photovoltaics, we have hydrogen, we have also energy storage, and this is why we are here. And we go up to geothermal, for example, ocean and concentrated solar thermal power. Finally, we are covering also materials which are needed, advanced materials for the transition, and this is why we had advanced materials energy applications, AMPEA, and the joint program on nuclear materials, which deal for the nuclear materials for the existing and the future nuclear reactors. So this is somehow about European Energy Research Alliance. Now, I've been asked to deliver a bit what are the novelties in energy transition in 2024. And what I can say, and where I'm going to start from, is a bit of the shift in the European Commission policies when it comes to European Green Deal. So, with the new Commission, which is headed by already previous and the former Commissioner Ursula von der Leyen, has shifted a bit its focus from purely European Green Deal towards a bit what we call clean industrial deal. So with her message from July, which is now, of course, was also explained in the Parliament when they voted the new commissioners, the President of the European Commission clearly underlined a strategic shift towards, well, let's say, more competitiveness of European industry, and not anymore exclusively towards the climate action. So we have this focus of achieving climate neutrality by 2050, but prioritizing clearly industrial competitiveness and economic prosperity of the continent. That means that we are moving a bit of focus from the transitioning to a circular economy, which was clearly underlined in the European Green Deal, towards more pragmatic and technology-neutral approach. Not to be misunderstood, we still have a clear focus on 2030, 2040 and 2050 goals, but now subordinated to the competitiveness of European industry. On top of it, what happened this year? The European strategic direction were also hugely influenced by the two reports that have been published before summer 2024 and I think immediately after in October. And more specifically, I'm talking about two reports published by two former Italian Prime Minister. One is Enrico Letta, another one is Mario Draghi. So the first report of Enrico Letta, which is named Much More Than the Market, proposes strategies to modernize the European single market that exists, you remember, since 1990s, but now addressing contemporary challenges and opportunities. And one of these challenges and a huge opportunity is given by the fifth freedom. The four already exist, which is free movement of people, free movement of capitals, free movement of from ideas, and now we have the free movement of research with the scope to enhance research, innovation and education in the single market, while also emphasizing the need for innovative financial mechanism. On another side, Mario Draghi report was much more, courageous in putting forward the direction of the European Commission by stating the first thing: the European Commission is facing an existential threat, so that we need to change things very soon and very radically. And how we want to do that is by boost European competitiveness, primarily by closing the gap, innovation gap between European Union and its competitors, in this case, United States and China. Okay, and how we tend to do that? By investing heavily in clean tech technologies, but also in artificial intelligence, in everything that can boost European competitiveness, where the Europe is already quite well advanced. You have here 5 bullet points that somehow summarize these two reports. So we talk about strategic economy, autonomy, economic security, competitiveness, where research and innovation is central to that, and you will see in my presentation how it's central to that. But we also know that there is a huge research innovation funding gap that we need to close somehow. So what is proposed by the two, reports, it's to deeper European integration. This is what Letta says. And we need to face the fragmentation. I'm going to tell you what we think when we talk about the fragmentation, and we need to scale up. Now, of course, we have also numbers that we need to deal with, and Mr. Draghi said if we want to do that, we need to put on the plate yearly 100 billion euros to do all these things. Now, where all this, insert itself? In this slide, which is a bit technical, but maybe you are familiar with it, and it depicts the state of play when it comes to the reduction of the greenhouse gases respect to the 1990s. We all know that we have a target to reduce it by 55% by 2030, and let's see what this slide says us, and let's see how all the policies and the reports we just spoke about before should be reflected in this one. On your right side of the screen, you have the state of the play. And you have to hear different advancement and different targets that should be achieved by 2030, 2050. And we can clearly see that with the current policies put in place by the countries in the world, and these measures are commonly defined NDCs, you can see it here, which means nationally determined contributions. Today, as they are put in place, are not sufficient to achieve the goals of 1.5 or 2%. Actually, we are doing much worse, and the gas emissions are growing instead of diminishing. So, unless we don't brought below levels by 2030, it's going to become impossible to achieve objectives of 1.5 or 2 degrees. And if we want to do it with the current policies, we should be able to reduce by average per year 4 and 7.5% of the emissions. And this is clearly not happening. So if you see, it's growing, it's not diminishing. And we are going very, very above these targets. So everything that we should do as a research innovation community should keep in mind these numbers. What does it mean concretely for R&I? The 3 things that I have explained. The first one, it's shifting priorities of the European Commission from the Green Deal to Industrial Green Deal. The second one, it's forward push from the 2 reports to work on the competitiveness, not only just on the climate neutrality. And the third one is the global context that we find ourselves in. So what does it mean this for R&I? First of all, competitiveness remains a key priority on the European policy and political agenda. The decarbonization goals inextricably linked to the competitiveness, which wasn't guaranteed a scenario just a few months ago, to more emphasis on economic performance, growth, productivity, and less on environmental and social dimensions. Research innovation increasingly is at the forefront of the European political debate, seen as a vow to regain competitive edge. So we have a strong focus on high trials, but also you will see through my presentation, also basic research, fundamental research is gaining some terrain here. Now, numerous authoritative calls, as we can see, are calling for the speed, scale, and urgency. Otherwise, we will not be able to achieve those. But there are some pushbacks from member states, as several proposals encroach on national prerogatives. And this is why, and this is not just, as you can imagine, this is not just in R&I, this is about economy, it's about education, it's about defense, it's about many things that happens in the European Union. Then the next thing we have to say is that the global competition intensifies, with the United States and China pulling further ahead, and we are lagging behind heavily, and you will see how much in terms of investment in research and innovation. And finally, despite the worsening of the climate crisis, and you see numbers, so we are reaching 4 degrees, not 1.5, following the Paris Agreement. Only few mentions in the flagship documents informing the next 5 years' priorities and agendas. Okay, so this is where R&I should place itself. Now, as I was saying, we are lagging heavily behind our major global competitors. Here you see how much it's invested in R&I. The South Korea, it's already at 5% of GDP per year, followed by Taiwan, United States, Japan, and UK. And in Europe, it's heavily lagging behind. So we are around 2.2% of GDP, whereas we have promised in our strategy and policies to achieve neutrality that we will invest around 3%. This is not happening. Not only we're not reaching 3%, we are far behind, for example, South Korea. And this is major this is the reason. We have 3 major reasons. First, we have lagging private investments. While, for example, in the United States, if you have some extra money, you invest heavily in startups and unicorns. If in Europe you have some money, you invest otherwise. You, for example, buy yourself an apartment or doing something else, but you don't invest in clean tech. So this is the first thing. This means that we have a low risk culture. And finally, we depend on European financial tools to go forward. So these are, let's say, the three of the reasons why somehow this R&D is lagging behind. Now, European Energy Research Alliance, considering all that I have explained so far, has somehow put forward analysis that ideally actually constitutes a renewed call to overhaul and radically scale up the European R&D powerhouse in order to preserve European strategic autonomy and to establish leadership in promoting a fair, sustainable and prosperous society. Therefore, we have come up with 10 recommendations which are embedded in our annual report that you will have a pleasure to find and read on our website, which somehow reflects the position of the research community when it comes in facing the challenges that we have ahead. So we have called these recommendations area recommendations in European competing in the world. We have a series of recommendations. The first one, 10 in all. So the first one, let's say, it's a most theoretical one, and we said that we should promote sustainable competitiveness as a key driver to prosperous Europe, supported by a comprehensive policy framework focusing on ability to compete globally. When we talk about sustainable competitiveness, we need to, in this definition, also englobe environmental sustainability, productivity growth, fairness and well-being for all. So we don't talk just about pure growth of the GDP, but take in consideration as well openness to trade globally while ensuring stability, autonomy and resilience of our economy. Okay? The second recommendation is that we should, to boost this competitiveness, we should promote low carbon energy research and innovation as a key driver for the competitiveness. Now we know that R&D has traditionally been acknowledged as a key driver of the energy transition, but seldomly was considering as a determining factor. So now what we say that we need to boost even more this R&D to make of some of industries that we have in Europe the competitive advantage. So this is what is this about? For example, what goes in favor of this recommendation is the fact that the Horizon Europe framework indicates that every euro that we have spent in R&D can potentially generate a return up to 11 euros for the society in the 25 years. So this is the multiplicator that investing in R&D has for our society. I go now to the third recommendation, so which is very clear. We have to ensure a level playing field as a lever to promote European sustainable competitiveness globally, which means that the sustainability standards, which are typically for European continent, not so much, unfortunately, for the rest of the world, should be kept in mind when we compete globally, which means that we need to help to establish for the European Union a level playing field with non-European economic players conducting business in Europe. So we need to we need to conduct our competitors to respect our very strict rules on when it comes to the clean energy transition investments. Strictly and closer link to this is recommendation number 4, which says that we need to uphold the as open as possible and as close as necessary approach in trade policies by favoring partnership with like-minded countries and managing critical interdependencies, sorry for this long word with others. This is very much linked to, as I say, recommendation 3, but above all to the concept of economic security and strategic economy. So we need to defend ourselves as necessary, but we need to be as open as possible. So we need to create the framework with the trade partners where we have, let's say, reciprocal dependencies and mutual interest in engaging way one with another. So this is mainly it. Because somehow we need to be very pragmatic in facing the challenges of today's world. We have a recommendation number 5, which says that we have to establish, to make work what I was saying, the previous 4 recommendations, we need to establish a European sustainable competitiveness policy framework which integrates research and innovation, industry and trade policies. So 4 of them cannot travel anymore separately. They have to be part of the same framework to guarantee what I was saying before under the auspices of energy security and resilience. Now we have additional 5 recommendations which are mainly focused on research and innovation and what should be the role of research and innovation within the competitiveness. Recommendation number 6, we should embrace the European fifth freedom. As I was mentioning, you remember before, several slides before, it's Enrico Letta's report that embeds education, research and innovation at the core of European single market. This means that we need to include and we need to bear in mind that we are in the position, the European Union is in the position that is because of the higher energy and workforce costs, together with the critical raw materials dependencies. So all of this creates difficulties for us to progress, and this is why we should embrace this fifth freedom, which means that research and innovation should be one of these freedoms. The 7th is a recommendation: boost research and innovation impact by radically scaling up R&I funding and defragmenting the European R&I landscape. Now, what we need to do here, we need to increase R&I efficiency by substantially improving coherence and complementarity of national and European research agendas by avoiding duplication and creating critical mass. Nowadays, European Commission and the entire European Union, we are very well in producing recommendations, directives and so on, but it happens often that at the national level, those recommendations, those directives are not properly translated in the national normative. And in this way, we have these balances between policies, European level and national level. We should avoid doing that. So what we need to do is create a more cohesive framework. But as well, what we need to do is to boost the impact of low carbon energy R&I on the European sustainable competitiveness by revisiting, streamlining and simplifying existing European Union funding frameworks, programs and instruments. There's plenty of money on the plate, but it's scattered in different programs at European level, but also national one. So what we need to do here is to defragment this policy and these financial instruments to cope with the challenge that we have ahead. So we need to, as I said, defragmenting all of it, all the system. Now we have the 8th recommendation. It's to rebalance public and public research innovation funding across the spectrum of TRL range. I was saying that while immediate deployment of mature technologies it's necessary to meet short-term targets, we need to continue to invest in the research and development essential for the long-term innovation. The report of International Energy Agency says that technology, 35% of technologies that we need to achieve the goals of 2050 don't exist. They're not on the market. So we need to keep investing in those technologies. So the dual focus on the both current and emerging technologies approach ensures a continuous pipeline of advancements that can be deployed as they reach maturity. In hand with this one go the fact that we need to foster a breakthrough innovation by encouraging scientists to pursue novel ideas without immediate commercial constraints. And to do that, it's only by investing public money or de-risking private ones. Okay, we have related to this a 9 recommendation. It's to reconsider a bit what we invest to. So we are used to invest in entire value chains in all the technologies that we have today, but maybe we should consider to selectively focus efforts on critical value chains and technologies where we still have some competitive advantage and there where we can still reach the European leadership, and where we cannot do that, so because we are losing competition with other huge players, we need to come up with some de-risking approaches. Okay, so for example, what we can do here when it comes to wind technology, we should focus ourselves and invest heavily to wind in the way that doesn't happen to the wind manufacturing in wind industry, what happened to PV, that 20 years ago was of the advantage and was really how to say basis of European clean tech, and then moved to China, so we lost a bit of market share there. We need to be careful that the same thing don't happen when it comes to wind. And while we are not so advanced in some technologies, we need to see what can be diversified de-risking approach. And for this reason, this is my final slide and final recommendation. We need to boost low carbon energy R&D to sustainable competitiveness by shortening the entire innovation cycle, which means the famous lab to fab cycle. How to do that? One of it can be to facilitate the transition from research to market by creating what we call innovation hubs or center of excellence across the value chain, products and services. So there should be considered somehow as an integrated innovation ecosystem by fostering closer collaboration between us, research institutes and people working in research, industry, governmental agencies, and why not societal stakeholders. So this would act somehow as European technology valleys implementing joint research innovation agendas. Related to this, what we should do is to leverage the contribution of the small and medium enterprises, which are at the core of European economy, by, for example, simplifying tendering procedures and streamlining administrative processes. They are too messy, they're too complex, and they are already, again, developing at different levels. European level, national level, sub-regional level, and so on and so forth. One of the things that now it's gaining interest in Europe since recently, it's how to address so-called death valley. So the funding gap by development, the funding gap between between the TRLs, the low TRLs, and the time that that specific technology needs to be updated by the market. So we need to be able somehow, and this is more or less United States model, it's to develop a venture capital market to provide early stage funding, lowering barriers to entry and developing a streamlined process for regulatory approval. And this is something that in Europe we're now starting working on that. And finally, to be able to strengthen research innovation in the process of European competitiveness, we need to develop a pan-European research infrastructure network. And Stories, this project, it's precisely about that. So we need to create pan-European infrastructure, which goes beyond existing schemes, which are hydrogen valleys, for example, and so on. And we need to include all elements that should contribute to advancement of this infrastructure, which means as well for example, NI, and all other cutting-edge technologies. So with this slide, I see that I have consumed half an hour. I'm closing my presentation. I will be very happy to answer any question you might have by writing to email that you have indicated here. I thank you very much for your following the Stories project, the Stories Summer School, and I hope to see you in person somewhere very, very soon. Have a good prosecution of your career. Bye-bye.